If we were looking at logic, we could have picked Morocco, Cameroon, or the Congo for our move abroad destination. But we are not choosing any of the three. Instead, we are choosing Côte d'Ivoire. And in today's video, I'm going to share with you why we are choosing Côte d'Ivoire, specifically the city of Abidjan, for our move abroad. So these are reasons in no particular order. Some of them are very important, some of them are non-negotiables, and some of them are just good to have. And the first one of all of these reasons is political and economic stability. This is a huge one, obviously, because you want to be able to go to a country where you feel safe, where you can invest, because that's important for us as business owners. And also because we're moving with our kids as a family of 6, safety obviously is important, political safety, but also in terms of crime and things like that. Obviously, there's crime everywhere in the world, and you want to be able to pick a country that is considered safe generally for women if you are walking alone by yourself in the streets. And also, you know that in terms of governance, things are pretty stable. One of the ways you can know if you are moving to a country that is politically stable is looking at international investors, looking at foreign companies investing or being implanted in those countries. And the country of Côte d'Ivoire has a lot of multinationals that have invested in there. A lot of companies have offices there in Abidjan, but also international organizations like the UN. Some of the UN branches also have some offices in Abidjan. So that is very important because it indicates that there's a sense of stability from foreign organizations who have decided that, okay, they are going to have their offices in that city. So for everyday people like you and me, that is also a good sign as a green light to go there. Okay, so political and economic stability, and I'm looking down because I'm looking at my notes in here. That's the first one. Safety for children when it comes to school shootings here in the US. That is something that is extremely rare outside of the US. And so I would say anywhere you find, anywhere you pick outside of the US, that probability of happening decreases dramatically. So that's another thing. In terms of infrastructure, that's also one of the reasons why we're not choosing Cameroon or the Congo. It's infrastructure in terms of power and water cuts. The frequency of those, again, it depends on the neighborhood you pick, but it's a lot more stable in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire, than in Kinshasa or in Yaoundé. So that is the main difference there in terms of infrastructure, even though for Morocco that is not the case. In Morocco growing up, I don't think we've ever experienced water or power cuts like random, except maybe once when there was a drought, I think in the 90s. Yeah, but it wasn't like, it's not like your everyday thing. Like everybody has power and electricity, unless you live in like a remote village in the mountains somewhere. But in the city, you have power and electricity 24/7. That's the case in Morocco. In another video, I tell you why Morocco is still not a viable destination for us, even though it has about 80% of all the things that I want on my list, but it's still a not for now for us. So go check out that video right there. So yes, good roads, good healthcare access as well. A lot of hospitals or clinics that have good standards, you can find that in Abidjan. Now, little disclaimer, depending on your own personal health, if you need special care, very specific type of care, maybe a developing country might not be the right choice for you. And you know, you have to look into that really seriously, because if you have flare-ups or if something very specific happens to you and you don't have this kind of specialty in that country, then you're in trouble. But for us, we are relatively healthy, so general care pretty solid in Abidjan. So that's another thing that makes us choose Côte d'Ivoire. So again, utilities, healthcare, banking, all of these things are pretty modernized in Abidjan. So that is a reason why we are choosing Abidjan. That makes the transition a lot smoother coming from the US going to Abidjan instead of going to Yaoundé or Kinshasa, where the comfort level would be a lot lower than going to Abidjan, because in some instances it can be comparable, again depending on your cost of living and your lifestyle. So it's a big point there that I wanted to make sure I address. Okay, next point is all over sub-Saharan Africa, even North Africa, we have that, is being able to have affordable support at home. Nanny, somebody who can cook for you, somebody who can clean the house for you. Again, affordable, because we can have that here in the US. Like, you have somebody to come and clean the house, but paying $200 per month for the person to come and clean once a month versus paying $200 for somebody to come clean the house and also cook a few times a week. Well, see, it's a no-brainer, right? And having somebody who can take care of your kids when you're going out and all of that at a much more affordable price point, that is a big help for families wanting to move abroad. And so that's just part of the culture. It's not something that will be frowned upon. It's normal. That's part of the culture. Every social class has somebody who will have who will help at home, whether it's a family member, a niece coming from the village, or somebody that you hire formally, like through an agency. Everybody has help at home. Everybody has that support at home, because that's just part of the culture. Okay? So for us, the things that would be most important would be the cleaning, nanny, and the cooking. Because yes, I cook, but that would be one of the first things I would outsource. It's not something that I enjoy doing. I'm a good cook, but I don't enjoy cooking that much. So I'll just have somebody do it for me. That's just better. Okay? So that's another point that will make things a lot easier for us in our lifestyle, because it will reduce the mental load on us as the parents, and we'll be able to outsource that to somebody else. And so it's something that you'll have ongoing all the time, instead of like here in the US, like maybe we'll have it maybe when you just have a child, and then during that postpartum period when you have a family member that can come and help, or you hire somebody to do a few things for you here and there, but it's not like ongoing, like maybe a live-in nanny or things like that, where they are a lot more affordable in Africa in general, and specifically in our case in Côte d'Ivoire. Okay, next point, very dear to my heart, obviously, is friends. The fact that I have my BFFs there, childhood friend, college friend, and multiple friends actually, but my very close friends there, that makes a huge difference, because it allows you to have that smooth landing. It allows you to have that support to help you navigate any situation, whether it is admin stuff that you need to do. They know somebody that can accelerate things for you, instead of you going there and trying to show up and do it on your own. It allows you, it facilitates certain things. It allows you to do things a lot faster because you know somebody, and you can have access to certain spaces because you know somebody. And so it's not so much about where you went to school or the degree that you have, or sometimes not just the experience that you have, but who you know. And so it's very important to... Oops, my phone died. Anyways, what I was saying is that having friends in location is very important, because it makes your transition a lot smoother than if you don't know anybody there. So for Côte d'Ivoire, we do have people there that we know, that we trust, and that's why it's an easy choice for us. Now, when it comes to business opportunities, given that we are business owners and we like to look at different business opportunities wherever we go, and I did a video about that. I think it's a short, about 10 different business ideas that I saw when I went on a scouting trip to Abidjan. I'm going to list it at the bottom here in the description of this video. But some of the opportunities that I see specifically in the service industry, as someone with a background in business and in tourism specifically, I see a lot of opportunities when it comes to hospitality and tourism, but also in terms of customer service as well as education. And these are all areas that are of interest to me. These are areas where I see a lot of opportunities to be able to serve a lot of people when it comes to growing these businesses. My philosophy when it comes to business, specifically when it comes to business in a developing country, is that it's very, very important that your business serves the local community first. I am not for businesses that serve foreigners first, like big resorts or things like that. That's just a personal preference, because sure, you can create jobs for the locals and all of that, but it's serving. And I don't like to have locals always in the position of serving others that are coming to them. I want to be able to provide services that are benefiting the local population, not just the ultra rich, but mainly the average Ivorian. Every business strategist will tell you, well, go with luxury first and then go into the masses. But it's just a personal preference when it comes to my convictions to go with mass first, or even if it's not mass, but at least affordable for middle class. And then if you want to go exclusive, sure, go into the luxurious and all of that, or even to a more mass market. I'm not trying to start a resort or a retreat center or anything like that that is not targeting Ivorians. It has to target the local population first before it targets foreigners. All right. So that's my own take onto that. But anyways, the next point is language. I've spoken about that a lot in other videos about the things that we're looking for when it comes to our Blaxit destination. Language, knowing that French is my first language. My husband is fluent in French as well. And the kids are learning a little bit. And we want to be able to have them in an environment where it's a lot easier to learn another language, in this case, French. So immersion is the fastest, easiest way to get it done when it comes to children, because their brain is still absorbing everything. And at that age, it's just easier to be able to learn multiple languages. I say that a lot. When I was a kid growing up in Morocco, we spoke French at home and school. Spanish was on television and radio, Arabic in the streets, and what else? And English at church. Yeah, those were the 4 languages that we were constantly exposed to. And that was specifically because we lived in the north of Morocco. It's not the same 4 languages when you live in other parts of Morocco. So that made this whole thing possible. And so immersion is the easiest, fastest way for you to do that. Obviously, watching TV shows in the target language also help, but being able to play in the neighborhood with kids who speak French would allow the kids to learn it faster. And also, since I don't get to speak French that often anymore, it will be a great way for me to get back into an environment where I get to speak another language. Like any chance that I get to speak Spanish or French, I always take that opportunity, because it helps me keep up with my language skills and just stay afloat with other things. And it's kind of weird, because when I speak in French now, it's kind of odd because I'm fluent, but at the same time, it's hard sometimes to talk about certain topics in French, mostly like scientific things, or even talking about the research that I did for my PhD. It's a little hard for me to talk about it in French because I did it in English. And so some of the terms, I don't really know them in French. So it's a little odd, because it's like I'm forgetting my main language in a way. So I want to get back into the environment where I get to speak that language again. So that's another reason why Côte d'Ivoire would be the perfect environment for that as well. Okay, next reason, and I don't know if I numbered those, but I think it's reason number 8 why Côte d'Ivoire works for us, is hospitality. Côte d'Ivoire is known in their national anthem. They call themselves the country of hospitality. It's in the national anthem. And about 20 to 25% of the population in Ivory Coast is foreigners. And so there is a sense of welcoming for foreigners, and that is something that I appreciate. Mostly when I talk about knowing where home is for me as a third culture kid. I spoke about that in another video. I'm going to link it up here. One of the challenges of being a third culture kid is trying to identify where home is, and at the same time is an advantage because you get to adapt anywhere you are because you have multiple homes. Morocco is home, the Congo is home, the US is home, and so making Côte d'Ivoire home will not be too hard because I'm used to having multiple homes. And so that's something that will be, it will be a great environment to make us feel welcome and make us feel at home. And for our children to be able to spend a few years there, that would be a great addition for their identity. I believe it helps a lot in how you frame your identity of who you are in the world and how you adapt to your different environments. So in terms of hospitality, great place to be. Côte d'Ivoire is definitely a good choice. Okay. Next reason is simply because why not? Why not? If you have a sense of adventure, if you want to change things up, shake things up because you're tired of the routine, you're tired of the status quo, and even if things don't really change in the US, like you're living a good life and no problems, no major problems, you're good financially and everything, why not? Why not change things up a little bit and introduce something else, a new challenge, a new adventure, something new? And with the kids still being young, they're 12 and under. 12? Yeah, 12 and under. And so they're in an age where they're not really talking about proms yet. They are not talking about learning how to drive yet. They're not talking. So they're still in those formative years where it's easier to move them into a new environment than if they were full-on teenagers. That will be a lot more difficult. I'm not going to say it's impossible. Obviously, people do it all the time. However, it will be a lot more challenging than doing it now. Like right now, when we talk about it with them, they're excited. They're like, okay, when can we go? Because they want to be part of the new adventure. They see it as a fun adventure. And so that's a great age to do it. And, at the end of the day, why not? If you can, why not? It's tomorrow is not promised, right? And so we can think about, okay, let's do it once the kids leave the home, or let's do it when I get a new job, or when this and that. Obviously, you have to be responsible financially and make sure that you make good choices when it comes to your health and the safety of your family. But talking about health, the longer you wait, the more difficult it's going to be for you health-wise, because naturally when you get older, the knees get weaker, the heart maybe gets weaker as well. And so you're not going to be able to do the things that you can do at your age now. Being 45, there are things that are a little harder than when I didn't have kids or when I was in my 20s. And so if I were to wait 10 more years at 55, who knows how my body is going to be, right? So why not now? Because you don't know how healthy you're going to be in 5 years, in 10 years, and so on. So why not now? And so that's another reason why now is a good time to do it. So yeah, why not? Why not make Côte d'Ivoire our next stop, our next new adventure? Because it doesn't really hurt. There are more pros than cons to the whole equation. There are definitely cons, but the pros outweigh the cons right now. And so that's why it's a green light. It's like, why not? Why not do it now? And so those were the nine reasons why we're making Côte d'Ivoire our Blaxit destination, our move abroad destination. Because I know that a lot of people were wondering why Côte d'Ivoire and why not your home countries like Cameroon or the Congo or even Morocco, where I grew up, and even Ghana, which is a very popular choice for a lot of people moving from the West, going back to Africa because of English, right? And I have another video right here that you can watch where I talk about specifically the difference with Côte d'Ivoire and Ghana and why we are picking Côte d'Ivoire instead of a country like Ghana. So make sure you watch it next. Until next time, bye.